A mysterious encounter on the edge of Thunder Canyon would forever change Thomas Anderson's life. As dawn broke over Pine Valley, Montana, the seasoned farmer stood frozen at his fence line, staring at a sight that defied explanation. There, emerging from the morning mist, stood a majestic dapple gray Mustang, its coat shimmering despite obvious wounds, beckoning him with an almost human intelligence in its eyes. What happened next would not only challenge everything Tom thought. He knew about these wild creatures, but would lead him to a discovery that would leave his entire community speechless. The crisp autumn air bit at Tom's face as he performed his morning chores at Evergreen Ranch. At 38, he'd spent his entire life working this land, following in the footsteps of 3 generations before him. His wife, Emily, was already at the veterinary clinic where she worked as an assistant, leaving him alone with their loyal border collie, Scout, who trotted faithfully at his heels. The morning seemed ordinary enough until Scout's ears perked up, his body tensing as he stared intently toward Thunder Canyon. Tom followed his dog's gaze, squinting through the early morning haze. That's when he first saw it. The dapple gray Mustang, standing just beyond his property line. The horse's coat was marred with scratches, and it favored its right front leg. But what struck Tom most was its behavior. Instead of fleeing at the sight of humans, the Mustang stood its ground, pawing at the earth and tossing its head as if trying to communicate. Years of experience with horses told Tom this was unusual. Wild Mustangs typically avoided human contact at all costs, yet this one seemed determined to get his attention. As he approached the fence line, the horse took several steps toward the dense forest before stopping and looking back at him. Tom's heart raced as he realized the animal wasn't running away. It was waiting for him to follow. Tom's first instinct was to call Emily at the clinic, but as he reached for his phone, the Mustang whinnied urgently. Something in that sound, a note of desperate pleading, made him pause. He knew the stories of people who'd followed wild animals into Thunder Canyon, never to return. The morning fog still clung to the trees, creating an eerie atmosphere that would make most men think twice. But there was something in those intelligent eyes that compelled him forward. Grabbing his emergency pack from the barn, a habit Emily had drilled into him, Tom whistled for Scout and climbed over the fence. The Mustang immediately moved deeper into the forest, maintaining a steady pace despite its injury. It would stop every few yards, looking back as if to ensure Tom was still following. Scout stayed close, his usual playful demeanor replaced by alert watchfulness. The trek into Thunder Canyon grew more challenging as they moved away from the well-worn trails. The Mustang led them through dense underbrush, along steep ridges and across shallow streams. Tom's boots were soaked and his clothes were torn from pushing through thorny bushes, but the horse's determination never wavered. When they paused for brief rests, the Mustang would stand guard, its ears constantly moving, scanning for danger. An hour into their journey, the weather began to turn. Dark clouds rolled in from the west, bringing with them the threat of the season's first snow. Tom knew he should turn back. The canyon was treacherous enough in good weather, but just as doubt began to creep in, the Mustang's behavior changed. Its pace quickened, its movements became more urgent. They were close to something, Tom could feel it. The path suddenly opened into a small clearing, and Tom's breath caught in his throat. Hidden in a natural hollow, partially sheltered by overhanging rocks, lay the reason for their journey. A small herd of wild horses, including several foals, were trapped in what appeared to be an old mining pit. The recent rains had made the walls too slippery to climb, and the only exit was blocked by fallen rocks. Among them, Tom spotted a mare that shared the same distinctive markings as his guide, likely its mate. The dapple gray stallion had led him here not to seek help for its own injuries, but to save its family. The realization hit Tom like a physical force. These proud, wild creatures had been trapped for days, and their situation was dire. Some of the horses showed signs of dehydration, and the foals looked weak. The stallion's own injuries suddenly made sense. It must have hurt itself trying to free them. Tom reached for his phone, thanking Providence that he had a signal. His first call was to Emily, who immediately understood the urgency of the situation. She promised to bring Dr. Hayes and whatever supplies they could gather. His second call was to Jack Cooper, his young ranch hand, who could bring ropes and tools from the ranch. As he waited, Tom studied the pit, looking for the safest way to help the trapped horses. The rescue effort quickly became a community endeavor. Bob Mitchell, the retired sheriff from next door, arrived with his sons and their equipment. Dr. Hayes brought medical supplies for both the trapped horses and the injured stallion. Even people from town who'd heard about the situation came to help, forming a human chain to clear the fallen rocks and create a path for the horses. As they worked, the dapple gray stallion stood watch, occasionally nickering softly to the trapped horses below. Its trust in Tom seemed to keep the wild herd calm during the rescue, despite their natural fear of humans. The connection between man and horse had transcended their natural barriers, forging something deeper in the face of crisis. The weather continued to deteriorate as they worked. The temperature dropped steadily, and the first snowflakes began to fall. Time was running out. With the path finally cleared, Tom and Jack carefully approached the trapped horses. Under Dr. Hayes' guidance, they worked to lead each animal up the makeshift ramp they'd created, starting with the weakest foals. One by one, the horses emerged from the pit, each one pausing briefly near the stallion before moving to the safety of the clearing. The mare came last, obviously exhausted but still maintaining her wild dignity. The reunion between her and the stallion was a moment of pure magic, their gentle nuzzling and soft whinnies speaking volumes about their bond. Dr. Hayes insisted on treating the stallion's injuries before releasing it. To everyone's amazement, the proud animal submitted to her care, as if understanding that these humans had earned its trust. The wounds weren't severe, mostly scrapes and bruises from its desperate attempts to help its family. Throughout the treatment, its eyes never left Tom's face. As the light began to fade and the snowfall intensified, it was time to leave. The wild herd had already moved toward the shelter of the forest, but the dapple gray stallion lingered. It approached Tom one last time, touching its muzzle gently to his chest in a gesture that brought tears to his eyes. Then, with a shake of its magnificent head, it turned and disappeared into the gathering darkness, following its family to freedom. The story of the wounded Mustang that led a farmer to save its trapped herd spread quickly through Pine Valley. It became a testament to the intelligence and emotional depth of these wild creatures, and a reminder that trust, once earned, knows no boundaries. Tom often found himself standing at his fence line in the early mornings, scanning the misty edges of Thunder Canyon. Sometimes, on very quiet days, he would catch a glimpse of a dapple gray coat among the trees and know that his unusual friend was still watching over its family. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that the most extraordinary connections can come from the most unexpected places. Together, we can spread stories of hope, trust, and the remarkable bonds that can form between humans and the wild creatures we share this world with. Remember, sometimes the greatest acts of compassion come from those we least expect, and a little trust can lead to miraculous outcomes. The days following the dramatic rescue at Thunder Canyon brought unexpected challenges to Evergreen Ranch. Tom Anderson found himself unable to shake the memory of those intelligent eyes and the trust the wild stallion had placed in him. Each morning, he'd wake before dawn, brewing his coffee in the century-old farmhouse kitchen while watching the tree line through weathered windows. Scout would sit beside him, ears perpetually alert, as if sharing his vigil. Emily noticed the change in her husband immediately. The quiet determination that had always characterized him had shifted into something deeper, more contemplative. She'd catch him standing at the fence line during odd hours, his gaze fixed on the misty depths of Thunder Canyon. The rescue had affected him profoundly, awakening something that had long lain dormant in his soul. Word of the incident spread through Pine Valley like wildfire, drawing unwanted attention to the remote area. Wildlife photographers and curious onlookers began appearing at the edges of their property, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary Mustang herd. Their presence disrupted the peaceful routine of the ranch and, more worryingly, threatened to disturb the wild horses in their natural habitat. Bob Mitchell, the retired sheriff, became a frequent visitor to Evergreen Ranch, sharing his concerns over morning coffee. "These city folks don't understand the delicate balance we have here," he'd say, his weathered face creased with worry. "One wrong move, and we could lose these Mustangs forever." Tom couldn't help but agree, remembering the trust he'd seen in the stallion's eyes. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. That trust felt like a responsibility now, one he was determined to honor. The situation took a more serious turn when Jack Cooper, while checking the fence line, discovered fresh tire tracks leading into restricted areas of Thunder Canyon. Someone had been venturing deep into the wilderness, far from the marked trails. Tom's heart sank when he found discarded camera equipment and empty beer cans scattered near known watering holes. The intrusions were becoming more frequent and more damaging. Emily returned from the veterinary clinic one evening with troubling news. Dr. Hayes had treated 2 young Mustangs from a neighboring valley for injuries consistent with attempts to capture them. The thought of someone trying to trap these magnificent creatures made Tom's blood boil. The dapple gray stallion had trusted him to help its family, and now that family was facing a new kind of threat. As autumn deepened, the weather grew increasingly hostile. Early snowfalls blanketed the canyon, making the terrain treacherous and food scarce for the wild herds. Tom began noticing more wildlife venturing closer to the ranch, driven by hunger and desperation. The wild horses, however, remained elusive, visible only as distant shadows moving through the snow-laden trees. One particularly cold morning, Scout's urgent barking drew Tom to the eastern pasture. There, half hidden in the pre-dawn gloom, stood the dapple gray stallion. Its coat had grown thicker for winter, but Tom could still see the faint scars from its previous injuries. The horse's presence so close to the ranch was unprecedented, and its behavior seemed almost anxious as it pawed at the frozen ground. Tom approached slowly, speaking in low, soothing tones. The stallion allowed him to come surprisingly close before turning and walking purposefully toward the canyon. Just like that first day, it would stop and look back, clearly wanting Tom to follow. Despite the biting cold and the early hour, Tom knew he had to trust this extraordinary animal once again. After leaving a quick note for Emily, Tom grabbed his emergency pack and winter gear. Scout fell into step beside him as they followed the Mustang into the forest. The snow made tracking easier, but it also revealed something disturbing. Multiple sets of human footprints and unfamiliar tire tracks crisscrossing the area. The stallion led them deeper into Thunder Canyon than they'd gone before, following paths that seemed impossible to navigate in the snow. They passed the old mining pit where the herd had been trapped, now safely filled in thanks to the community's efforts, and continued toward a remote valley Tom had never explored. The horse's urgency was palpable, its powerful muscles tense with barely contained energy. After several hours of difficult hiking, they reached a narrow passage between towering rock walls. The Mustang stopped, its ears swiveling to catch every sound. Tom could hear running water somewhere ahead, partially muffled by the snow. As they emerged from the passage, the reason for their journey became clear, and Tom's heart nearly stopped. Hidden in this remote valley was a makeshift camp, clearly set up for capturing wild horses. Heavy-duty horse trailers were partially concealed under camouflage tarps, and crude metal corrals had been assembled near a natural bottleneck in the terrain. Worst of all, Tom could see fresh hoofprints leading toward this trap. The herd had nearly wandered into it. The dapple grey stallion stood beside Tom, its body trembling with what seemed like barely contained rage. This magnificent creature had once again sought human help, understanding somehow that this threat required more than its own strength to combat. Tom reached for his phone, thankful that Bob Mitchell had insisted on installing signal boosters throughout the canyon after the rescue. Within hours, a carefully coordinated response was underway. Bob Mitchell arrived with local law enforcement, while Emily and Dr. Hayes came prepared to treat any injured animals they might find. The illegal trappers, likely tipped off by lookouts, had fled, but they left behind enough evidence for identification. Registration numbers on the trailers and discarded documents provided crucial leads for the authorities. As law enforcement documented the scene, Tom noticed the stallion growing increasingly restless. Understanding dawned. The horse hadn't just brought him here to expose the trap, but to warn him about something more urgent. Following its lead once again, Tom and Scout tracked through the fresh snow to a smaller valley nearby. There, they found several young Mustangs, including two of the foals from the rescued herd, trapped in a crude pen and suffering from exposure. The work of freeing and treating the trapped horses took several hours. Dr. Hayes found them frightened, but largely unharmed, though one foal showed signs of dehydration. Throughout the ordeal, the dapple grey stallion remained nearby, standing guard and seemingly coordinating with other members of the herd who began appearing at the valley's edge. As the last foal was treated and released, Tom watched in awe as the wild herd emerged fully from the forest. The stallion's mate, the mare he'd helped rescue months ago, approached cautiously with their own foal close behind. The family reunion was touching, but what happened next left everyone present in stunned silence. Rather than immediately leaving, with its herd, the stallion approached Tom one final time. The great horse stood before him, its breath creating clouds in the cold air. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Tom understood something profound about the nature of trust and mutual respect. Without warning, the stallion reared up, its powerful silhouette stark against the winter sky, before turning to lead its family to safety. The display felt like both a farewell and a warning. The Mustang would always protect its herd, and it expected Tom to do the same. The discovery of the illegal trapping operation led to significant changes in Thunder Canyon. The local authorities increased patrols, and the community established a formal wildlife protection program. Tom and Emily found themselves at the center of these efforts, their ranch becoming an unofficial headquarters for monitoring and protecting the wild horse population. Spring returned to Pine Valley, bringing with it new growth and renewed hope. The wild herds flourished under increased protection, and while visitors still came to catch glimpses of the famous Mustangs, they now did so with respect and understanding. Tom continued his early morning vigils, watching the canyon come alive. With the first light of dawn, sometimes he would catch a glimpse of a distinctive dapple grey coat among the trees and know that his extraordinary friend was still out there, still watching, still protecting. The legend of the wounded Mustang that twice sought human help became more than just a story. It became a symbol of the delicate balance between wilderness and civilization, and a reminder that trust, once given, creates an unshakable bond. For Tom Anderson, it was a lesson in the profound wisdom of these wild creatures and the responsibility we hold to protect them. The experience changed Evergreen Ranch as well. Tom and Emily began working with Dr. Hayes to establish a rehabilitation program for injured wild horses, providing temporary sanctuary while maintaining their wild nature. Scout adapted to his new role as ambassador between the domestic and wild worlds, his inherent understanding of boundaries helping to keep the human peace. Bob Mitchell often said that some things in life couldn't be explained, only experienced and understood with the heart. The mystery of how a wild Mustang could show such trust and intelligence remained a topic of discussion in Pine Valley. But for those who had witnessed it firsthand, no explanation was necessary. They had seen the proof that when humans and nature work together, extraordinary things are possible. As the seasons turned, the story of the wounded Mustang continued to inspire others to protect and preserve the wild spaces and creatures that shared their world. Tom would often stand at his fence line, watching the sun set over Thunder Canyon, and feel grateful for the trust that had been placed in him by a remarkable wild horse that had chosen to bridge the gap between two worlds. Late spring brought unprecedented changes to Thunder Canyon and Evergreen Ranch. The morning air carried the sweet scent of wildflowers as Tom Anderson made his way through the dew-soaked grass, his boots leaving temporary impressions in the earth. Scout trotted ahead, his nose working overtime as new scents drifted down from the mountains. The transformation of the landscape was striking, where snow had blanketed the ground months before, now vibrant purple lupines and golden prairie. Flowers created a natural tapestry. The rehabilitation program at Evergreen Ranch had grown beyond anyone's expectations. What started as a simple gesture of compassion had evolved into a full-scale operation, with Emily's veterinary expertise and Dr. Hayes's guidance proving invaluable. The old barn had been carefully renovated to include recovery stalls designed specifically for wild horses, allowing them to heal while maintaining their natural instincts. Jack Cooper had taken on additional responsibilities, showing a remarkable talent for working with the injured Mustangs. His gentle approach and patient demeanor earned him the trust of even the most skittish animals. Tom often found himself watching in amazement as the young ranch hand worked, remembering his own life-changing encounter with the dapple gray stallion. The morning routine had expanded to include checking on their current patients, 3 young Mustangs recovering from various injuries sustained during the harsh winter months. As Tom approached the barn, he heard Jack's voice speaking softly to the horses, a sound that had become as much a part of the ranch as the morning bird song. Emily emerged from the farmhouse, her veterinary kit in hand, ready for morning rounds. The years of working with wild horses had left their mark on her face. New laugh lines around her eyes and a perpetual look of determined compassion that Tom found more beautiful than ever. She paused beside him, watching the sun rise over the canyon's rim, casting long shadows across their expanded operation. A commotion from Scout drew their attention to the fence line. The border collie stood alert, his tail straight and ears forward, focusing on movement in the tree line. Tom's heart quickened as a familiar silhouette emerged from the morning mist. The dapple gray stallion had returned, but something was different about its behavior. The magnificent horse approached the fence with unprecedented urgency, its coat gleaming in the early light. Behind it, partially obscured by the trees, stood its mate and their now-grown foal. The stallion's presence so close to the ranch, accompanied by its family, was extraordinary. Years of experience with these wild creatures had taught Tom to read their behavior, and every instinct told him something significant was about to happen. Emily noticed it too, her trained eye catching subtle signs of distress in the stallion's body language. The horse pawed at the ground, tossing its head in a way that Tom had come to recognize as a call for attention. Without hesitation, he grabbed his emergency pack, a habit that had saved lives more than once in Thunder Canyon. The stallion's mate and foal remained at the tree line as their leader approached Tom at the fence. The trust between man and horse forged through shared experiences and mutual respect, had only grown stronger over time. The stallion's eyes held the same intelligent gleam that had first captured Tom's attention. But now there was an urgency that sent a chill down his spine. Emily quickly prepared a medical kit while Jack readied the rescue trailer, standard procedure whenever the Mustangs sought their help. Bob Mitchell had installed an emergency alert system after the trapping incident, and within minutes he was on his way to the ranch, understanding the significance of the stallion's return. As Tom approached the fence, the stallion turned and took several steps toward the canyon, looking back expectantly. The pattern was familiar, but the horse's behavior suggested this was different from previous encounters. Tom signaled to Emily and Jack to follow with the trailer, then carefully climbed over the fence with Scout at his heels. The journey into Thunder Canyon this time felt different. The stallion led them along new paths, deeper into territory they hadn't explored before. The terrain became increasingly challenging, with steep inclines and narrow passages between towering rock formations. The morning sun struggled to penetrate the dense canopy above, creating a mysterious atmosphere in the forest below. After an hour of difficult hiking, they reached a secluded valley hidden behind a series of natural rock formations. The sight that greeted them explained the stallion's urgency. A large herd of wild horses, at least 30 strong, had gathered in the valley. Among them were several heavily pregnant mares and 2 young foals that appeared to be struggling. Emily's professional demeanor took over as she assessed the situation. The foals showed signs of a respiratory infection, something she'd seen spreading through domestic herds in neighboring counties. The wild horses had sought help not just for themselves, but for their entire extended family. The next few hours were a blur of activity as Bob Mitchell arrived with Dr. Hayes and additional supplies. The challenge of treating wild horses in their natural environment was immense, but the dapple gray stallion's presence seemed to keep the herd calm. It stood watch as Emily and Dr. Hayes worked, moving between the nervous horses with remarkable authority. The scene was unprecedented. Wild Mustangs allowing humans to approach their young, accepting treatment and care while maintaining their dignity and freedom. Tom couldn't help but marvel at the trust that had developed between these proud creatures and the people of Pine Valley. The stallion had built a bridge between 2 worlds, teaching both sides valuable lessons about cooperation and respect. As they worked, Tom noticed something remarkable about the herd's composition. These weren't just random Mustangs that had banded together. There were clear family groups with distinct characteristics that suggested careful breeding. The stallion hadn't just created a herd, it had established a thriving community, protecting and nurturing its extended family with remarkable intelligence. The treatment of the sick foals required multiple visits over the following weeks. Each time they returned to the valley, they found the herd waiting, as if understanding the necessity of human intervention. The stallion would appear at the ranch early in the morning, leading them back to check on the young one's progress. During these visits, Tom and his team began to understand the complex social structure of the wild herd. The dapple gray stallion ruled with a combination of strength and wisdom, protecting the vulnerable while allowing younger stallions to remain within the group, an unusual behavior that spoke to its exceptional leadership. The valley itself proved to be a perfect natural sanctuary. Hidden from casual observation and protected by steep cliffs, it provided everything the herd needed: water, grazing land, and natural barriers against predators. The stallion had chosen its territory well, creating a safe haven for its growing family. As the foals recovered, the dynamics between the wild horses and humans evolved into something extraordinary. While maintaining their essential wildness, the herd seemed to accept the presence of Tom and his team as occasional allies rather than threats. Young horses would watch them with curiosity rather than fear, while older ones maintained a respectful distance but showed no signs of panic. The success of treating the respiratory infection led to an expansion of Evergreen Ranch's mission. With the support of Dr. Hayes and the local wildlife authorities, they established a mobile veterinary unit specifically designed for treating wild horses in their natural habitat. The program became a model for wildlife conservation, demonstrating how humans could help without imposing captivity or domestication. Emily's expertise with wild horse medicine grew, and she began documenting their experiences and treatments. Her research caught the attention of veterinary schools and wildlife organizations, bringing additional resources and support to their efforts. The story of the dapple grey stallion that had initiated this partnership became a cornerstone of their educational outreach. As summer approached, the valley transformed into a nursery. New foals arrived, strong and healthy, their presence a testament to the success of their collaborative approach to wildlife management. The stallion's own mate gave birth to twins, an extremely rare occurrence in horses, and the proud father's behavior during this time revealed even more about his extraordinary character. The discovery of the valley and the establishment of the mobile veterinary program marked a turning point in the relationship between the people of Pine Valley and their wild neighbors. The success of their approach attracted attention from conservation groups and wildlife managers from across the country, all eager to learn from their experience. Tom often found himself sharing the story of how it all began, a wounded Mustang that had the wisdom to seek help not just for itself, but for its entire family. The tale resonated with people, challenging their assumptions about wild animals and human-wildlife interactions. It became a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound wisdom comes from the creatures we often underestimate. Scout adapted. To his role as intermediary between the domestic and wild worlds, his herding instincts refined into a gentle awareness of boundaries. The border collie seemed to understand the importance of maintaining the wild horse's freedom while facilitating necessary human intervention. The dapple grey stallion continued its reign over the valley, its leadership style a perfect blend of strength and wisdom. Though other young stallions occasionally challenged its authority, it maintained control through experience and intelligence rather than mere force. Its example influenced the behavior of the entire herd, creating a unique culture that balanced wildness with adaptability. As the season progressed, Tom and Emily began documenting the herd's social structures and behaviors. Their observations revealed patterns that challenged conventional wisdom about wild horse societies. The stallion had created something remarkable, a community that could interact with humans when necessary while maintaining its essential wild nature. The success of their program led to the establishment of protected corridors between Thunder Canyon and neighboring valleys, allowing the wild horses to move freely while accessing help when needed. The dapple grey stallion's wisdom had initiated a new model of conservation, one that respected both the needs of wildlife and the potential for human assistance. Looking back, Tom realized that every choice, every moment of trust had led to this transformation. The wounded Mustang that had first sought his help had changed not just his life, but the lives of an entire community, both human and equine. Its legacy would continue through the foals born in the Hidden Valley, carrying forward a unique heritage of wisdom, trust, and cooperation. Between two worlds, the summer heat shimmered above Thunder Canyon as storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Tom Anderson stood at his newly constructed observation post, scanning the valley through high-powered binoculars. The afternoon light caught the dust kicked up by distant hooves as the wild herd moved through their territory. Even from this distance, the dapple grey stallion's commanding presence was unmistakable. A crack of thunder rolled across the valley, and Scout pressed closer to Tom's legs, his border collie instincts sensing the approaching storm. The observation post, built with the help of wildlife researchers who'd been drawn to Pine Valley's unique program, provided a perfect vantage point for monitoring the herd while maintaining their wild space. The structure itself was a testament to how far they'd come. Solar-powered cameras, weather monitoring equipment, and a small medical cache for emergencies. Emily's voice crackled over the radio, breaking the afternoon silence. Her tone carried an urgency that made Tom's heart race. "Tom, you need to see this. Bring the spotting scope." She was at the Eastern Observation Post, where Jack Cooper had recently reported unusual activity along the herd's migration route. The first heavy drops of rain began to fall as Tom packed his gear. Scout led the way down the familiar trail, his nose working overtime despite the weather. They found Emily crouched behind a natural blind, her attention fixed on something in the distance. Without a word, she handed Tom her tablet, displaying thermal imaging of the valley floor. The images revealed what their regular observations had missed: a complex series of natural caves and tunnels running through the canyon walls. More importantly, they showed heat signatures indicating recent horse activity deep within these formations. The dapple gray stallion had been leading its herd into these caves, but the reason wasn't immediately clear. As they watched, the storm intensified, driving sheets of rain across the valley. Lightning illuminated the canyon walls, revealing glimpses of movement near the cave entrances. Through the spotting scope, Tom could see the stallion organizing its herd with remarkable efficiency, guiding them into the shelter of the caves just as the worst of the storm hit. Emily's scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. These caves could explain how the wild herds had survived particularly harsh winters and why they remained in the area despite seasonal challenges. But there was something more. The thermal imaging showed unexpected temperature variations deep within the cave system. The radio crackled again, this time with Bob Mitchell's voice. The retired sheriff had been monitoring weather patterns, and his report was grim. This wasn't just a summer storm. It was the leading edge of a significant weather system that threatened to dump unprecedented rainfall on Thunder Canyon. The risk of flash flooding was high. Tom and Emily exchanged glances, both understanding the implications. The caves that offered shelter could become death traps if the water rose too quickly. The stallion's wisdom in leading them to higher ground was remarkable. But would it be enough? They needed to understand the cave system better and quickly. Dr. Hayes arrived as darkness fell, bringing specialized equipment for exploring the caves safely. The storm had intensified, making any approach dangerous, but the risk of doing nothing was greater. The wild horses had trusted them before. Now it was time to trust the horses' instincts and follow them into unknown territory. The cave entrance was larger than it appeared from a distance, easily accommodating their careful approach. Scout stayed close, his usual confidence tempered by the unfamiliar environment. Their powerful lights revealed hoof prints in the sandy floor, confirming that the herd had indeed passed this way. The passage twisted deeper into the canyon wall, occasionally opening into larger chambers. The air grew noticeably warmer, and soon they discovered why. The cave system was fed by underground thermal springs. The horses hadn't just found shelter, they'd discovered a natural sanctuary that would keep them warm through the harshest weather. Their exploration revealed something even more extraordinary. The largest chamber contained mysterious cave paintings, clearly depicting horses. Dr. Hayes estimated they were hundreds, perhaps thousands of years old. The wild horses had found their way back to an ancient sanctuary, one that had sheltered their ancestors long before human settlement reached these valleys. The dapple gray stallion appeared at the chamber's entrance, its coat glistening with moisture from the storm. Instead of fleeing from their lights, it stood watching, as if wanting them to understand something important. Behind it, they could see other members of the herd, including the young twins, safely settled in the natural warmth of the cave. The storm raged outside, but within the caves a profound sense of peace prevailed. The thermal springs created a microclimate that would protect the herd from both summer heat and winter cold. The stallion had led them to a perfect sanctuary, one that had served its kind for generations. Emily began documenting everything: the cave paintings, the thermal springs, the natural ventilation system that kept the air fresh even deep underground. This wasn't just a shelter. It was a testament to the deep connection between these wild creatures and the land they called home. As the night wore on, they discovered more chambers, each serving a different purpose. Some held pools of fresh water, others offered natural salt licks, and still others provided perfect nursery spaces for expectant mares. The stallion had found not just a temporary refuge, but a complete ecosystem that could sustain its herd. Indefinitely, the rain continued for days, causing significant flooding in the lower valleys. But the wild herd remained safe in their elevated sanctuary, protected by both natural features and their leader's wisdom. The dapple gray stallion's choice of shelter had once again demonstrated an understanding that went beyond mere animal instinct. News of the cave discovery brought renewed attention to Thunder Canyon, but this time the focus was on preservation rather than exploitation. The cave paintings provided evidence of the area's historical significance, leading to increased protection for both the physical space and its wild inhabitants. Tom and Emily worked with wildlife officials to designate the cave system as a protected cultural and natural heritage site. The designation helped secure the herd's future, ensuring that their ancient sanctuary would remain undisturbed. They established minimal monitoring protocols that would allow them to ensure the herd's safety while respecting their need for freedom. Jack Cooper's role expanded to include training other ranchers in wildlife observation techniques. His natural ability to read horse behavior, combined with modern technology, created a new standard for wildlife management. The young ranch hand had found his calling, bridging the gap between traditional horsemanship and contemporary conservation. The thermal springs within the caves attracted the attention of geologists and environmental scientists. Their studies revealed that the cave system was part of a larger network of underground waterways that helped maintain the region's ecological balance. The wild horses had chosen their sanctuary well, settling in a location that was not only safe, but vital to the entire ecosystem. As summer turned to autumn, the caves became a crucial part of the herd's seasonal routine. The dapple gray stallion would lead them between the valley and the cave system, timing their movements with remarkable precision to take advantage of both environments. Their behavior demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of their territory that challenged conventional wisdom about wild horse intelligence. Scout adapted to the cave environment, his herding instincts proving valuable in navigating the complex passages. The border collie seemed to understand the significance of their discoveries, maintaining a respectful distance from the wild horses while helping to monitor their well-being. The cave paintings became a subject of intense study. Anthropologists identified patterns that suggested the site had been sacred to indigenous peoples who had lived in harmony with the wild horses centuries ago. The modern herd's use of the same space created a powerful connection between past and present, highlighting the timeless relationship between horses and humans. Dr. Hayes established a research program focused on the unique behaviors exhibited by the Thunder Canyon herd. The dapple gray stallion's leadership style, particularly its ability to anticipate and prepare for environmental challenges, became a case study in wild horse intelligence. The program attracted graduate students and researchers from around the country, all eager to learn from this extraordinary population. Emily's documentation of the cave system and its inhabitants led to publication in several scientific journals. Her work challenged existing paradigms about wild horse behavior and conservation, suggesting that these animals possessed far greater cognitive abilities than previously recognized. The dapple grey stallion's story became a cornerstone of this new understanding. As the seasons changed, the cave sanctuary revealed more of its secrets. Each chamber seemed designed to serve a specific purpose in the herd's survival strategy. The stallion had not just found a shelter, it had discovered a complex system that could sustain its family through any challenge nature might present. The presence of the thermal springs ensured that even during the coldest months, the herd would have access to unfrozen water and warm shelter. The natural salt deposits provided essential minerals, while the cave's multiple entrances offered escape routes if needed. It was a perfect natural fortress, chosen with an intelligence that continued to amaze those who studied it. Bob Mitchell's weather monitoring station near the caves provided valuable data about how the herd anticipated and responded to changing conditions. The stallion seemed able to read subtle environmental cues, leading its family to safety well before dangerous weather arrived. This predictive behavior became another subject of scientific study. The discovery of the cave sanctuary changed more than just the herd's survival prospects. It transformed understanding of wild horse conservation. The complex social behaviors observed within the cave system demonstrated that these animals were capable of maintaining sophisticated community structures when given the space and protection to do so. Tom often found himself sitting at the cave entrance during quiet evenings, watching the interaction between the herd members. The dapple grey stallion's twins had grown into strong yearlings, already showing signs of their father's intelligence. The future of this remarkable population seemed secure, protected by both natural barriers and human understanding. The story of the wounded Mustang that had first sought human help had come full circle. By trusting Tom that first day, the stallion had initiated a chain of events that led to the discovery and protection of its ancestral sanctuary. Its wisdom had not only ensured its herd's survival, but had also deepened human understanding of wild horse capabilities. As autumn painted the canyon in brilliant colors, the cave sanctuary stood as a testament to the extraordinary partnership between humans and wild horses. The dapple grey stallion had showed them that true wisdom often meant knowing when to maintain independence and when to seek help. This balance between wildness and cooperation became the foundation for a new approach to wildlife conservation, one that respected both the intelligence and the freedom of these remarkable creatures. Winter descended on Pine Valley with unexpected ferocity, transforming Thunder Canyon into a pristine wilderness of white. The morning sun cast long shadows across the snow-covered landscape as Tom Anderson made his way through the deep drifts, following tracks that only trained eyes could distinguish. Scout bounded ahead, his black and white coat almost invisible against the snowy backdrop, nose working overtime to process the complex array of scents that the cold air carried. The research station near the cave sanctuary had recorded record-breaking low temperatures, and concerns about the wild herds were mounting. Even with the thermal springs providing warmth within the caves, the harsh conditions posed unprecedented challenges. Tom carried additional supplies in his pack, mineral blocks and emergency feed that Dr. Hayes had specially formulated for extreme conditions. A flash of movement caught his attention, and Tom raised his binoculars. Through the swirling snow, he spotted several young Mustangs playing along the ridgeline, their winter coats thick and healthy despite the brutal weather. Their presence outside the caves was encouraging, suggesting the herd was adapting well to the harsh conditions. Emily's voice came through his radio, excitement evident even through the static. She and Jack Cooper had been tracking unusual migration patterns among neighboring herds, and their findings were remarkable. Other wild horses were moving toward Thunder Canyon, drawn by something they couldn't yet understand: the dapple grey. Stallion's herd had become a beacon of sorts. their success attracting others seeking shelter from the brutal winter. The arrival of new horses presented both opportunities and challenges. The cave sanctuary was vast, but resources weren't unlimited. Tom had witnessed the stallion's leadership skills before, but integrating multiple herds would test its abilities in new ways. As he watched, a group of newcomers appeared at the valley's edge, their ribs showing through winter coats, clearly struggling with the harsh conditions. What happened next demonstrated once again why the dapple grey stallion had become legendary. In these parts, instead of driving the newcomers away, as most herd leaders would, it approached them with remarkable diplomacy. Tom watched through his spotting scope as the stallion seemed to assess each new arrival, separating the truly desperate from those merely seeking easier grazing. Dr. Hayes arrived at the observation post, her breath visible in the frigid air. Her team had been studying the herd's winter adaptation strategies, and their findings were revolutionary. The thermal caves weren't just providing shelter, they were enabling a completely new social structure among the wild horses. The warmth and protection allowed multiple family groups to coexist, sharing resources in ways never before documented in wild populations. The radio crackled again, this time with an urgent message from Bob Mitchell. The weather station had detected an approaching storm system that threatened to cut off access to the canyon for days. They needed to ensure the horses had everything they needed before the storm hit, but moving supplies through the deep snow would be challenging. As if understanding the urgency, the dapple grey stallion appeared at the cave entrance, pawing at the snow-covered ground. Its winter coat had grown thick and luxurious, giving it an almost mythical appearance against the white landscape. Behind it, the cave entrance glowed with the warm light of the setting sun, offering a glimpse of the sanctuary within. Tom and Dr. Hayes worked quickly to position supplies near the cave entrances, careful not to disturb the natural dynamics of the herd. They had learned that the wild horses were more likely to accept their help if it was offered with respect for their independence. The stallion watched their work with intelligent eyes, occasionally nickering softly to maintain contact with its family inside the caves. The storm hit with incredible force, turning the canyon into a swirling white void. Tom and Dr. Hayes took shelter in the research station, using their sophisticated monitoring equipment to track the herd's movements within the cave system. The thermal imaging revealed something extraordinary. The horses had organized themselves into distinct groups, each occupying specific chambers that best suited their needs. Pregnant mares gathered in the warmest chambers near the thermal springs, while younger horses stayed near the cave entrances, taking turns standing watch. The dapple grey stallion moved between groups, its leadership extending beyond its original family to encompass all the horses seeking refuge from the storm. The level of organization and cooperation they witnessed challenged everything known about wild horse behavior. Emily's research team had installed sensitive microphones in some of the outer chambers, and the recordings revealed complex vocalizations between herd members. The stallion's communications with its enlarged family group showed sophistication that suggested a form of language, specific calls for different situations, warning sounds, and what appeared to be teaching vocalizations directed at younger horses. As the storm raged outside, life within the caves followed its own rhythm. The thermal springs created a microclimate that remained surprisingly comfortable, while natural ventilation shafts prevented the air from becoming stale despite the large number of horses sheltering inside. The ancient sanctuary was proving itself perfectly adapted to protect its inhabitants from the worst winter in recent memory. Jack Cooper's expertise with horse behavior proved invaluable as they documented the integration of new arrivals into the existing herd structure. The young ranch hand had developed an almost intuitive understanding of the complex social dynamics at play, His observations revealed that the dapple gray stallion wasn't just accepting new horses, it was actively teaching them the cave system's rules and resources. The storm lasted 5 days, dumping several feet of snow on Thunder Canyon. When the skies finally cleared, the scene that greeted them was both challenging and beautiful. The deep snow had transformed the landscape, but the wild horses emerged from their sanctuary strong and healthy. The stallion's leadership had ensured not just survival, but thriving in conditions that would have devastated most wild herds. Even more remarkable was the behavior of the newly integrated horses. They moved with the confidence of animals who understood their environment. Having learned from the dapple gray stallion's example, the cave sanctuary had become more than just a shelter. It was a school of sorts, where survival skills and social cooperation were passed from one group to another. Dr. Hayes's team documented the emergence of new behaviors among the combined herds. Young horses from different family groups played together, developing social bonds that would normally be impossible in the competitive world of wild horse bands. The thermal caves had created conditions that allowed for more complex social development, similar to what might have existed before human expansion fragmented wild horse populations. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd during the brutal winter attracted attention from wildlife conservation experts worldwide. The combination of natural shelter, thermal springs, and extraordinary leadership had created a model for wild horse preservation that no one had previously imagined possible. The dapple gray stallion's ability to adapt its leadership style to accommodate newcomers demonstrated remarkable flexibility and intelligence. Emily's continuing research revealed that the cave sanctuary was allowing for the development of distinct cultural traditions within the herd. Different groups developed their own preferred pathways through the cave system, specific resting spots, and unique social behaviors. Yet all remained united under the stallion's thoughtful leadership, creating a complex society that balanced individual family needs with collective survival. The winter's challenges had transformed understanding of wild horse capabilities. The dapple gray stallion hadn't just found a way to survive. It had created a sustainable community that could adapt and grow stronger through adversity. The horse's intelligence and leadership abilities suggested that wild herds, when given the right conditions, could develop far more sophisticated social structures than previously believed possible. Tom spent long hours observing the herd's winter routine, marveling at the precision with which they moved between the caves and the snow-covered valley. The stallion had developed a system of rotating grazing areas, ensuring that no single patch was overused despite the limited winter forage. This level of resource management seemed almost planned, reflecting an understanding of environmental sustainability that many humans could learn from. Scout had adapted to his role as observer, maintaining a respectful distance while helping to track the herd's movements. The border collie's presence had become accepted by the wild horses, who seemed to recognize him as part of the human support system that had proven so valuable during the winter crisis. His ability to move quietly through the snow-covered landscape made him an ideal assistant for monitoring the herd's welfare without disturbing their natural behaviors. As winter maintained its grip on Thunder Canyon, the cave sanctuary continued to reveal new secrets. The complex network of chambers and passages proved more extensive than initially believed, with some passages leading to hidden valleys that provided additional grazing opportunities during the worst weather. The stallion's knowledge of these alternative routes demonstrated a deep understanding of its territory that went far beyond simple familiarity. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd during this harsh winter became a powerful argument for preserving wild spaces. The dapple gray stallion had shown that given the right conditions and protection, wild horses could not only survive but create complex, adaptable communities. Its leadership had transformed a crisis into an opportunity for growth and learning, both for the horses and for those studying them. Bob Mitchell's weather monitoring station had become a crucial part of the support system for the wild herds. The ability to anticipate severe weather allowed the research team to prepare accordingly, ensuring that emergency supplies were in place before conditions became too severe. The retired sheriff's dedication to protecting the horses had evolved into a sophisticated early warning system that helped maintain the delicate balance between human support and wild independence. The winter's experiences had changed perspectives on wild horse conservation. The dapple gray stallion's ability to integrate multiple herds and establish sustainable patterns of behavior suggested that these animals possessed far greater adaptive capabilities than previously recognized. The cave sanctuary had become more than just a shelter. It was a living laboratory where natural horse behavior could develop and thrive despite extreme conditions. As winter slowly released its grip on Thunder Canyon, the transformed herd emerged stronger and more unified than ever. The dapple gray stallion's leadership had created something unprecedented, a wild horse society that could face nature's greatest challenges while maintaining its essential freedom. The lesson wasn't lost on those who witnessed it. Sometimes, the greatest wisdom lies in knowing when to accept help and when to help others, all while staying true to one's wild nature. Spring arrived in Thunder Canyon with an explosion of wildflowers and new life. The morning air carried the sweet scent of fresh grass as Tom Anderson stood at his observation point, watching the transformation of the landscape. Early sunlight filtered through the remnants of morning mist, illuminating a scene that seemed almost magical. The dapple gray stallion stood atop a distant ridge, silhouetted against the brightening sky, surveying its expanded domain. The winter's challenges had reshaped more than just the herd's social structure. The valley floor bore evidence of the horse's resourcefulness, carefully maintained grazing patterns that had allowed the vegetation to survive despite harsh conditions. Emily's research team had documented how the herd's methodical rotation between grazing areas had actually improved the health of the native grasses. Scout's excited barking drew Tom's attention to movement near the cave entrances. A new generation of foals was emerging into the spring sunshine, their spindly legs still unsure, but strengthening quickly in the warmer weather. Among them were several with distinctive markings similar to the dapple gray stallions, suggesting its bloodline was successfully spreading through the combined herds. The radio crackled with Dr. Hayes's voice, reporting an unexpected discovery. The thermal imaging equipment had revealed additional cave chambers they hadn't previously mapped, and something about the heat signatures suggested these might be even more significant than the ones they already knew about. The complexity of the sanctuary continued to amaze them, months after its initial discovery. Jack Cooper appeared on the ridge opposite Tom's position, his notebook already full of morning observations. The young ranch hand's natural talent for reading horse behavior had developed into genuine expertise. His presence had become so familiar to the herd that even the newest foals barely noticed him as he documented their first steps into the spring sunshine. The sound of hoofbeats drew their attention to the valley floor. The dapple gray stallion was leading a group of horses through what appeared to be a training exercise. Younger stallions followed its lead, learning the complex network of trails that connected various parts of their territory. The level of intentional teaching behavior they witnessed challenged conventional understanding of wild horse capabilities. Emily arrived at the observation point, her excitement evident as she shared the latest findings from their ongoing research. The winter's forced proximity in the cave sanctuary had led to the development of new social behaviors. Different family groups had begun cooperating in ways never before documented in wild horses, sharing responsibilities for foal care and territory surveillance. As they watched, a remarkable scene unfolded below. A young mare from one of the newly integrated herds had wandered too close to a steep drop-off, her foal following close behind. Before anyone could react, the dapple grey stallion appeared, gently but firmly, guiding both mother and foal back to safer ground. The incident demonstrated both the stallion's continued vigilance and its commitment to protecting all members of the expanded herd. The morning's observations were interrupted by an urgent call from Bob Mitchell. The weather station had detected unusual seismic activity in the canyon. While minor earth tremors weren't uncommon in the region, these readings suggested something that required immediate investigation. The wild horse's safety could be at risk if the cave system was affected. Tom and Emily quickly organized a response team. Dr. Hayes arrived with specialized equipment to assess the stability of the cave system, while Jack Cooper began monitoring the herd's behavior for any signs of distress. The dapple grey stallion seemed already aware of the situation, gradually moving the more vulnerable members of the herd away from the cave entrances. The seismic investigation revealed both concerns and opportunities. While some of the original chambers showed signs of stress that would need monitoring, the newly discovered passages led to an even more extensive network of caves. The thermal springs that had provided such crucial warmth during the winter were part of a larger underground system that had been slowly reshaping the canyon for centuries. As they worked to understand the implications of their discovery, the dapple grey stallion demonstrated once again why its leadership had become legendary. Rather than panicking at the increased human activity around the caves, it seemed to understand the purpose of their presence. It began leading small groups of horses to alternative sheltered areas, establishing backup sanctuary spaces with the same methodical care it had shown in organizing the winter shelter. The stallion's behavior during this potential crisis revealed new depths of its intelligence. It maintained calm among the herd while facilitating the humans' necessary work, creating a perfect balance between caution and cooperation. Its ability to assess and respond to complex situations continued to amaze even those who had studied it for months. Emily's documentation of the herd's response to the seismic activity provided valuable insights into wild horse cognitive abilities. The stallion wasn't just reacting to immediate danger. It was implementing what appeared to be a carefully considered contingency plan. The way it organized the herd's movements suggested an understanding of both immediate safety needs and long-term survival strategies. The discovery of additional cave systems led to a revelation about the canyon's geological history. The network of underground chambers and passages had been formed over thousands of years by the same thermal springs that had provided such crucial shelter during the winter. The wild horses had found not just a temporary refuge, but a living, evolving sanctuary that could continue to adapt to their needs. Jack Cooper's observations during this period proved invaluable. The young ranch hand's careful documentation showed how the herd's social structure adapted to meet new challenges. The dapple grey stallion's leadership style evolved, delegating more responsibility to trusted members of the herd while maintaining overall coordination of their activities. The seismic activity eventually stabilized, but its impact on their understanding of Thunder Canyon's ecosystem was lasting. The wild horses had chosen their territory with remarkable wisdom, settling in an area where geological forces had created perfect conditions for their survival. The stallion's ability to recognize and utilize these natural advantages spoke to a level of environmental awareness that transcended mere instinct. Dr. Hayes's team expanded their research focus to include the relationship between the horses and their geological environment. The herd's movement patterns showed a sophisticated understanding of the landscape's hidden features. They avoided areas with unstable ground and seemed to know exactly where underground water sources would emerge during dry periods. The spring, days lengthened, bringing new growth and activity to Thunder Canyon. The foals born in the cave sanctuary grew stronger, benefiting from the combined care and protection of the entire herd. The dapple grey stallions' influence could be seen in their behavior. Even the youngest horses showed signs of the extraordinary intelligence and adaptability that had become the herd's hallmark. Scout's role in their daily observations evolved. As well, the border collie's presence had become so familiar that he served as a kind of ambassador between the wild and domestic worlds. His natural herding instincts had refined into an almost supernatural ability to anticipate and respond to the horse's movements without disturbing their natural behavior. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd continued to attract attention from wildlife experts and conservation groups. The stallions' leadership had created something unprecedented, a wild horse society that could adapt to environmental challenges while maintaining complex social structures. Their story became a powerful argument for preserving wild spaces and allowing natural behaviors to flourish. Emily's research papers on the herd's response to geological challenges gained recognition in scientific circles. The horse's ability to adapt to and even anticipate environmental changes suggested cognitive abilities far beyond what had previously been attributed to wild animals. The dapple grey stallion's leadership during the seismic event became a case study in animal intelligence and social organization. As spring advanced, the canyon's transformation continued. The paths between grazing areas showed signs of regular but careful use, evidence of the herd's sustainable management of their territory. The stallion's methodical approach to resource utilization had created a model of natural conservation that human land managers began studying with great interest. The integration of new horses into the herd continued, but now with an added dimension of complexity. The stallions seemed to be actively teaching newcomers about the canyon's hidden features, the safe paths, the reliable water sources, and the signs of potential geological activity. Its role had evolved from mere leader to teacher and guardian of crucial survival knowledge. Tom often found himself reflecting on how far they'd come from that first encounter with the wounded Mustang. The stallion's decision to seek human help had led to discoveries that transformed understanding of wild horse capabilities. Its wisdom in knowing when to maintain independence and when to accept assistance had created a new model for wildlife conservation. The spring rains brought fresh challenges and opportunities. The increased water flow through the canyon's underground systems revealed new passages and chambers, each carefully explored by both the research team and the horses themselves. The stallion's curiosity about these discoveries matched their own, suggesting an intelligence that continued to surprise even those who knew it best. As the season progressed, the dapple grey stallion's legacy became increasingly apparent in the younger generations. The foals born in the cave sanctuary showed remarkable adaptability and intelligence, combining their wild instincts with learned behaviors that improved their chances of survival. The stallion had created not just a larger herd, but a new culture that could be passed on to future generations. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd demonstrated that wild horses, when given the right conditions and protection, could create sophisticated societies capable of adapting to environmental challenges while maintaining their essential freedom. The stallion's leadership had shown that intelligence and cooperation could flourish in the wild, creating a balance between natural instincts and learned wisdom that ensured survival for all. Late spring sunshine bathed Thunder Canyon in golden light as an unexpected visitor arrived at Evergreen Ranch. Sarah Blackwood, a renowned wildlife photographer, stood at the observation point with Tom Anderson, her professional camera equipment, capturing the extraordinary scene below. The dapple grey stallion led its expanded herd through their morning routine, unaware that their story was about to reach an even wider audience. Sarah had traveled from National Geographic, drawn by reports, of the remarkable intelligence and social structure displayed by the Thunder Canyon herd. Her presence marked a new chapter in their ongoing story, bringing international attention to the unique partnership between wild horses and the local community. Tom watched as she documented the stallion's masterful leadership, her experienced, eye-catching subtle details that others might miss. The morning light revealed fresh tracks near the thermal caves, signs of mountain lion activity that hadn't been seen in months. Scout's alert posture confirmed the presence of the predator, but the herd's response demonstrated yet another fascinating adaptation. Rather than panicking, they implemented what appeared to be a coordinated defense strategy with younger horses, protected in the center, while experienced members maintained a vigilant perimeter. Emily arrived with important news from the research station. The genetic testing they'd been conducting on shed hair samples had revealed something extraordinary. The dapple gray stallion's bloodline carried markers that linked it to some of the oldest known horse populations in North America. Its extraordinary intelligence and leadership abilities might be connected to ancient genetic traits that had survived through carefully maintained wild lineages. Jack Cooper's morning reports added another layer to their understanding. The young ranch hand had noticed patterns in the herd's behavior that suggested they were actively teaching survival skills to their young. Foals weren't just learning. By observation, older horses were creating specific situations that allowed the young ones to practice crucial skills in a controlled environment. The sound of distant thunder rolled across the canyon, but the sky remained clear. Dr. Hayes's seismic monitoring equipment had detected new activity deep beneath the surface. The thermal spring system was shifting, creating changes in the cave, network that required careful observation. The stallion, displaying its uncanny awareness, had already begun adapting the herd's cave usage patterns in response to the subtle geological changes. Sarah's camera captured a remarkable sequence as the dapple gray stallion dealt with this latest challenge. Its methodical approach to assessing and responding to environmental changes demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that challenged conventional understanding of wild horse capabilities. The stallion wasn't just reacting to immediate circumstances. It was planning for future contingencies. Bob Mitchell's weather station had detected unusual atmospheric patterns developing over Thunder Canyon. The combination of geological activity and changing weather systems created unique conditions that would test the herd's adaptability once again. The stallion's response to these emerging challenges would provide new insights into its extraordinary leadership abilities. The morning's documentation was interrupted by an urgent call from the canyon's eastern observation post. A group of previously unknown horses had appeared, showing signs of distress from drought conditions in their own territory. The dapple gray stallion's response to these newcomers would test the limits of its innovative social structure. What followed demonstrated the full extent of the stallion's wisdom. Rather than immediately accepting or rejecting the newcomers, it initiated what appeared to be an assessment process. The new horses were first kept in a neutral area, where their behavior could be observed and their needs evaluated. The stallion's approach showed remarkable sophistication in managing group dynamics. Emily's research team carefully documented this integration process, recording previously unknown aspects of wild horse social behavior. The stallion wasn't just adding numbers to its herd, it was carefully maintaining the delicate balance that had made their society so successful. Each new addition was evaluated not just for physical condition, but for their potential contribution to the herd's collective knowledge and capabilities. The presence of National Geographic's photographer added an unexpected dimension to their observations. Sarah's trained eye caught subtle interactions that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. Her photographs revealed complex communication patterns between herd members, suggesting a level of social organization that went far beyond simple hierarchical structures. Jack Cooper's expertise proved invaluable in interpreting the nuanced behaviors being documented. The young ranch hand's natural ability to read horse body language helped decode the sophisticated social signals being exchanged. His observations revealed that the herd had developed what amounted to a complex social language, with specific gestures and vocalizations carrying distinct meanings. The geological activity beneath Thunder Canyon continued to influence the herd's behavior in fascinating ways. The stallion's ability to anticipate and respond to subtle environmental changes suggested a deep connection to the land that transcended ordinary animal instinct. Its leadership style adapted to meet each new challenge while maintaining the core strength of the herd's social structure. Dr. Hayes's ongoing research into the thermal cave system revealed new aspects of the horse's environmental adaptation. The herd had developed specific routines for different geological conditions, adjusting their use of the cave network based on subtle changes in temperature and airflow. This level of environmental awareness demonstrated remarkable sophistication in their understanding of their habitat. Sarah's photography captured a particularly poignant moment when the stallion introduced the newcomers to the cave sanctuary. The careful way it demonstrated the use of different chambers and passages suggested a deliberate teaching process. The established herd members participated in this education, each playing a specific role in helping the new arrivals understand their complex environment. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd's social structure attracted attention from unexpected quarters. Wildlife management experts began studying their model as a potential template for other wild horse populations facing similar challenges. The stallion's innovative approach to leadership had created something unprecedented, a sustainable wild horse society that could adapt to changing conditions while maintaining its essential freedom. Scout's role in their daily observations continued to evolve. The border collie's presence had become an accepted part of the herd's routine, his careful movements helping the research team maintain their documentation without disturbing natural behaviors. His intelligence and sensitivity provided a crucial bridge between the wild and domestic worlds. The morning's documentation captured another fascinating aspect of the herd's behavior. Young horses from different family groups engaged in what appeared to be organized play sessions, supervised by experienced adults. These interactions served multiple purposes: building social bonds, teaching crucial skills, and allowing the herd to evaluate each member's strengths and capabilities. Emily's research papers on the herd's social structure gained increasing recognition in scientific circles. The complexity of their organizational system challenged prevailing theories about wild horse behavior. The stallion hadn't just created a larger herd, it had established a sophisticated society capable of passing knowledge and culture to future generations. The transformation of Thunder Canyon continued under the stallion's thoughtful leadership. The careful management of grazing areas had improved the health of native plant species, while the regulated use of water sources ensured sustainable access for all wildlife. The herd's presence had actually enhanced the ecosystem, creating a model of natural balance that fascinated environmental scientists. Sarah's photographs revealed another remarkable aspect of the herd's behavior. The stallion had established what appeared to be designated learning areas, where young horses could practice crucial skills under supervision. These natural training grounds showed signs of regular but careful use, suggesting a deliberate approach to education that had never been documented in wild populations. The genetic research continued to yield fascinating results. The markers in the stallion's bloodline suggested a direct connection to horse populations that had survived the last Ice Age in North America. This ancient heritage might explain its extraordinary intelligence and leadership abilities, representing the preservation of traits that had helped horses survive and adapt for thousands of years. As the day progressed, the herd's response to the various challenges demonstrated the full sophistication of their social system. The integration of new members, the management of environmental changes, and the ongoing education of young horses all proceeded with remarkable efficiency. The stallion's leadership had created a resilient community, capable of facing any challenge while maintaining its wild nature. The success of the Thunder Canyon herd provided powerful evidence for the importance of preserving wild spaces and allowing natural behaviors to flourish. The stallion's wisdom in creating a balanced partnership with human observers while maintaining the herd's independence offered a new model for wildlife conservation. Its legacy would continue through the generations of horses that learned and adapted its remarkable approach to survival and cooperation. The first hints of summer touched Thunder Canyon as dawn broke over the eastern ridges. Mist rose from the valley floor, creating ethereal patterns in the early morning light. Tom Anderson stood at a newly constructed observation blind, accompanied by Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a visiting ethologist whose groundbreaking work on animal intelligence had brought her to study the remarkable herd of Thunder Canyon. The dapple gray stallion moved through the morning haze like a ghost, its presence commanding yet gentle as it guided its expanded family through their dawn routine. Dr. Rodriguez watched in fascination as the herd demonstrated behaviors that defied conventional understanding of wild horse social structures. The stallion's leadership style, combining authority with nurturing guidance, represented something entirely new in recorded equine behavior. Scout's alert posture caught their attention, his border collie instincts detecting something beyond human perception. Through powerful field glasses, they observed an extraordinary scene unfolding in the valley below. The stallion was conducting what appeared to be a systematic survey of its territory, accompanied by younger horses who seemed to be learning the complex task of environmental assessment. Emily's voice crackled over the radio with excitement. The sophisticated monitoring equipment they'd installed throughout the canyon had detected unusual patterns in the herd's nighttime activities. The horses weren't just seeking shelter in the thermal caves, they were actively maintaining and improving their environment, clearing obstacles and creating new passages that enhanced the cave system's utility. Jack Cooper arrived with his morning observations, his notebook filled with detailed sketches of new behaviors he'd witnessed. The young ranch hand's natural ability to interpret horse body language had developed into a sophisticated understanding of the herd's complex social interactions. His documentation revealed patterns that suggested the horses had developed their own form of cultural transmission, passing knowledge from generation to generation. The sound of distant hoofbeats drew their attention to the western ridge, where a fascinating drama was unfolding. A group of young stallions, guided by older mentors, appeared to be engaged in a complex training exercise. Rather than the aggressive displays typical of wild horses, these interactions demonstrated a structured approach to learning leadership skills and territorial management. Dr. Rodriguez's presence brought new perspective to their observations. Her expertise in animal cognition helped identify patterns that suggested the herd had developed what could only be described as a primitive form of education system. Young horses weren't just mimicking adult behavior, they were receiving focused instruction in crucial survival skills, with different herd members taking on specific teaching roles. Bob Mitchell's weather monitoring station had detected subtle changes in the canyon's microclimate. The combination of thermal activity from the caves and the herd's careful management of vegetation had created unique environmental conditions. The stallion's intuitive understanding of these patterns influenced its decisions about herd movement and resource utilization. The morning's observations were interrupted by movement near the cave entrances. A group of mares emerged, leading their foals in what appeared to be a carefully orchestrated learning session. The young horses were being introduced to different types of terrain and vegetation, with older herd members demonstrating proper navigation and foraging techniques. Dr. Hayes arrived with results from their latest research into the cave system's expansion. The thermal imaging had revealed that the horses' activities were actually enhancing the cave's natural ventilation and drainage systems. The stallion's choice of which passages to clear and which to leave untouched showed remarkable understanding of geological principles. The presence of the National Geographic team had brought unexpected benefits to their research. The sophisticated photography equipment captured subtle details of horse behavior that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. Slow-motion video revealed complex sequences of communication gestures that suggested a level of social coordination previously unknown in wild populations. Emily's ongoing genetic research continued to yield fascinating results. Analysis of hair samples from different herd members showed that the stallion's bloodline carried genetic markers associated with enhanced cognitive abilities. The careful way it chose breeding pairs suggested an intuitive understanding of genetic diversity and strength. Thunder Canyon's transformation under the herd's influence had created a unique ecosystem. The horses' grazing patterns promoted the growth of native plant species, while their movement through the landscape created natural corridors that benefited other wildlife. The stallion's leadership had established a model of environmental stewardship that fascinated conservation experts. Dr. Rodriguez's expertise revealed new aspects of the herd's social structure. The horses had developed what appeared to be specialized roles within their community, with different individuals taking responsibility for specific aspects of group survival. This division of labor, previously undocumented in wild horse populations, demonstrated remarkable social sophistication. The morning light strengthened, illuminating another fascinating aspect of the herd's behavior. Young horses gathered in small groups, engaging in what appeared to be problem-solving exercises under adult supervision. The stallion moved between these learning groups, adjusting the difficulty of challenges based on each individual's capabilities. Jack Cooper's documentation captured the subtle ways the herd maintained its complex social order. Rather than relying solely on dominance, they had developed a system of mutual support and cooperation. Different family groups specialized in various survival skills, sharing their expertise for the benefit of the entire community. Scout's presence had become an integral part of their research methodology. The Border Collie's intuitive understanding of appropriate boundaries helped maintain the delicate balance between observation and interference. His behavior provided valuable insights into how domestic and wild animals could coexist while respecting each other's nature. The success of Thunder Canyon's horse sanctuary had drawn attention from wildlife management experts worldwide. The stallion's innovative approach to leadership challenged traditional assumptions about wild horse behavior. Its ability to maintain both independence and cooperative relationships with human observers offered new possibilities for wildlife conservation. Dr. Rodriguez's research focused particularly on the herd's problem-solving abilities. The horses demonstrated remarkable creativity in addressing environmental challenges, developing solutions that combined individual initiative with group cooperation. The stallion's role in fostering this innovation while maintaining group cohesion suggested cognitive abilities far beyond previous estimates. The transformation of the canyon's ecosystem continued to amaze environmental scientists. The horses' careful resource management had created a sustainable balance between various species. Their presence actually enhanced biodiversity, proving that wild herds could play a crucial role in maintaining healthy ecosystems. Emily's research papers on the herd's social structure were revolutionizing understanding of wild horse behavior. The complexity of their organizational system, combining firm leadership with individual autonomy, demonstrated that natural horse societies could develop sophisticated cultural traditions when given proper space and protection. The morning's observations revealed another fascinating aspect of the herd's adaptation. The horses had developed specific protocols for different weather conditions, adjusting their behavior based on subtle environmental cues. The stallion's ability to anticipate and prepare for changing conditions suggested a deep connection to natural cycles. Jack Cooper's expertise proved invaluable in interpreting the herd's extensive communication system. The young ranch hand's careful documentation revealed patterns of interaction that suggested the horses had developed their own form of social memory, preserving and transmitting crucial knowledge across generations. The success of Thunder Canyon's unique partnership between wild horses and human observers had created a new model for wildlife research. The stallion's wisdom in allowing careful study while maintaining the herd's independence demonstrated that scientific understanding could be advanced without compromising natural behaviors. Dr. Hayes's ongoing study of the thermal cave system revealed the full sophistication of the horse's environmental adaptation. They had learned to use different areas of the cave network for specific purposes, creating a complex but sustainable pattern of habitat utilization that maximized the natural resources while minimizing impact. The morning sun climbed higher, illuminating the full scope of the herd's activities. Young horses practiced crucial survival skills under careful supervision, while older members maintained vigilant watch over their territory. The stallion moved among them with quiet authority, its presence ensuring the smooth operation of their remarkable society. The transformation of Thunder Canyon under the herd's influence had created something unprecedented, a wild horse community that combined natural instincts with learned wisdom, passing both genetic strengths and cultural knowledge to future generations. The stallion's leadership had established a legacy that would continue through the countless generations of wild horses yet to come. Summer heat shimmered above Thunder Canyon as an unexpected discovery changed everything. Tom Anderson stood at the newly established research station, examining fascinating markings uncovered by recent geological activity. The cave walls, exposed by a minor rockfall, revealed ancient petroglyphs depicting horses remarkably similar to the dapple gray stallion's herd. The discovery suggested that the connection between these wild horses and this land went back thousands of years. Professor James Chen, an expert in Native American history, carefully documented the ancient artwork while discussing its significance with Emily. The petroglyphs showed horses using the thermal caves in ways strikingly similar to the current herd's behavior. The stallion's innovative leadership style might not be innovative at all. It could be drawing upon ancient knowledge passed down through countless generations of wild horses. Scouts' excited barking drew their attention to movement near the cave entrance. The dapple gray stallion emerged, leading a group of horses in what appeared to be a precise formation. Their behavior seemed almost ceremonial, following patterns that eerily matched those depicted in the ancient rock art. The correlation between past and present sparked intense discussion among the research team. Dr. Rodriguez's expertise in animal cognition provided valuable insight into the significance of their discovery. The consistency between ancient and modern horse behavior suggested a form of cultural memory previously unknown in wild animals. The stallion wasn't just leading its herd, it was preserving and transmitting knowledge that had survived for millennia. Jack Cooper arrived with remarkable observations from his morning rounds. The young ranch hand had noticed patterns in the herd's movement that aligned perfectly with the pathways shown in the petroglyphs. The horses weren't just randomly using their territory. They were following ancient routes that had proven successful for countless generations. The morning sun illuminated another fascinating aspect of their discovery. The petroglyphs showed horses working together in complex social groups, suggesting that the sophisticated organization of the current herd had deep historical roots. The stallion's leadership style, combining authority with cooperation, might be a continuation of ancient equine social structures. Dr. Hayes approached with data from the thermal imaging equipment, revealing that the cave system's layout naturally facilitated the types of social organization depicted in the rock art. The horses had chosen their sanctuary with remarkable wisdom, utilizing natural features that had supported their ancestors for thousands of years. The presence of National Geographic's team proved fortuitous as they documented this convergence of past and present. Sarah's sophisticated photography equipment captured subtle details in both the petroglyphs and the modern herd's behavior, allowing for precise comparison of movement patterns and social interactions across millennia. Bob Mitchell's weather station had recorded unusual atmospheric conditions that morning. The combination of temperature, humidity, and air pressure created effects that seemed to influence the herd's behavior in ways that matched ancient descriptions of horse movements before significant weather events. The stallion's weather prediction abilities might be rooted in ancient environmental knowledge. Emily's genetic research gained new significance in light of the archaeological discoveries. The distinctive markers in the stallion's bloodline suggested a direct connection to the horse populations that had lived in Thunder Canyon thousands of years ago. The herd's extraordinary abilities might represent the preservation of ancient traits that had helped horses survive and thrive in this specific environment. The morning's documentation revealed fascinating parallels between ancient and modern horse behavior. Young members of the herd engaged in learning activities that mirrored those shown in the petroglyphs, suggesting that educational practices had been preserved across countless generations. The stallion's teaching methods might be part of an unbroken chain of knowledge transmission. Professor Chen's analysis of the rock art revealed sophisticated details about ancient horse society. The petroglyphs showed clear evidence of organized leadership, cooperative behavior, and structured learning, all characteristics displayed by the current herd. The stallion's innovative approach to leadership might actually be a restoration of ancient equine social patterns. Scout's presence near the ancient artwork prompted interesting observations. The border collie's interactions with the herd showed remarkable similarity to relationships depicted between wild horses and canines in the petroglyphs. The natural alliance between different species appeared to have deep historical roots in Thunder Canyon. The success of the Thunder Canyon Sanctuary gained new meaning with these archaeological discoveries. The stallion hadn't just created a successful adaptation to modern challenges. It had revived ancient wisdom about how horses could thrive in harmony with their environment. Its leadership represented a bridge between past and present, preserving crucial knowledge for future generations. Dr. Rodriguez's ongoing research revealed fascinating connections between the herd's current behavior and ancient survival strategies. The horses' use of different cave chambers for specific purposes, their coordinated movement patterns, and their social organization all showed remarkable consistency with historical evidence. The stallion's leadership maintained traditions that had proven successful for thousands of years. Jack Cooper's documentation captured subtle aspects of horse behavior that matched ancient descriptions. The young ranch hand's natural ability to read horse body language helped identify communication patterns that had remained consistent across millennia. The herd's sophisticated social interactions represented the preservation of ancient equine culture. The transformation of Thunder Canyon under the herd's influence gained new significance. The horses weren't just adapting to their environment. They were restoring ancient patterns of interaction between animals and landscape. The stallion's leadership had re-established balance that had existed for thousands of years before human intervention. Emily's research papers on the herd's social structure attracted increased attention from archaeologists and anthropologists. The consistency between modern horse behavior and ancient evidence suggested that wild horses possessed far greater cultural continuity than previously believed. The stallion's leadership maintained traditions that had helped horses survive countless environmental changes. The morning light revealed another fascinating aspect of the herd's connection to history. The horses' grazing patterns followed routes shown in the petroglyphs, creating sustainable cycles of vegetation use that had proven successful for generations. The stallion's resource management strategies weren't just effective, they were historically validated. Dr. Hayes's study of the thermal cave system gained new perspective from the archaeological discoveries. The horses' use of different cave areas matched patterns shown in ancient art, suggesting that knowledge of the complex underground environment had been preserved through generations. The stallion's understanding of the cave system represented accumulated wisdom passed down through time. The success of Thunder Canyon's unique partnership between wild horses and human observers gained historical context. The petroglyphs showed evidence of respectful interaction between horses and humans thousands of years ago, suggesting that cooperative relationships between species had deep roots in this landscape. The stallion's acceptance of careful human observation might reflect ancient patterns of coexistence. Professor Chen's analysis of the rock art revealed sophisticated details about ancient horse society that matched current observations. The petroglyphs showed clear evidence of organized leadership, cooperative behavior, and structured learning, all characteristics displayed by the current herd. The stallion's innovative approach to leadership might actually be a restoration of ancient equine social patterns. The morning sun climbed higher, illuminating both ancient art and living behavior. Young horses practiced crucial survival skills under careful supervision, while older members maintained vigilant watch over their territory. The stallion moved among them with quiet authority, its presence ensuring the continuation of traditions that had sustained wild horses for thousands of years. The transformation of Thunder Canyon under the herd's influence had created something unprecedented in modern times, a wild horse community that combined natural instincts with ancient wisdom, passing both genetic strengths and cultural knowledge to future generations. The stallion's leadership had established a legacy that bridged past and present, ensuring the survival of crucial knowledge for the countless generations of wild horses yet to come. Midsummer brought unexpected changes to Thunder Canyon as Dr. Lisa Montgomery, a renowned expert in animal communication, arrived at Evergreen Ranch. The early morning light painted the landscape in soft golden hues as she set up sophisticated audio equipment near the thermal caves. Her presence marked the beginning of a groundbreaking study into the complex vocalizations that had developed among the wild horse herd. Tom Anderson watched from the observation post as the dapple gray stallion led its family group through there. Morning routine. The horse's movements seemed deliberately measured, as if aware of the significance of the research about to unfold. Scout sat alertly beside Tom, his border collie instincts picking up subtle changes in the herd's behavior patterns. The first recordings captured something remarkable. Beyond the expected neighs and whinnies, the horses used a sophisticated range of vocalizations that varied in pitch, duration, and intensity. Dr. Montgomery's preliminary analysis suggested these sounds carried specific meanings, forming what appeared to be a primitive but effective language system. Emily arrived with fascinating data from their ongoing genetic research. The analysis of DNA samples from multiple herd members revealed markers associated with advanced cognitive development and social bonding. The stallion's bloodline appeared to carry genetic traits that enhanced both intelligence and communication abilities, suggesting its leadership qualities had deep biological roots. Jack Cooper's morning observations added another layer to their understanding. The young ranch hand had documented patterns in the herd's vocal exchanges that suggested different sounds were used for specific situations: warning calls, teaching, signals, and social bonding vocalizations. Each had distinct characteristics that other herd members clearly recognized and responded to. The presence of the advanced recording equipment revealed another fascinating aspect of the herd's communication. The horses used low-frequency sounds below human hearing range, similar to techniques employed by elephants for long-distance communication. These infrasonic vocalizations allowed the herd to coordinate activities across considerable distances. Dr. Hayes approached with new data from the thermal imaging equipment. The cave's natural acoustics appeared to amplify certain frequencies used by the horses, suggesting they had learned to utilize the environment's physical properties to enhance their communication. The stallion's choice of specific locations for different types of vocal exchanges demonstrated remarkable understanding of sound propagation. Bob Mitchell's weather monitoring station picked up unusual atmospheric conditions that seemed to influence the herd's vocal patterns. The horses adjusted their communication techniques based on temperature, humidity, and wind conditions, showing sophisticated adaptation to environmental factors that affected sound transmission. The morning's research was interrupted by an extraordinary display of the herd's communication abilities. A group of young horses, separated from their family unit, used specific call patterns that brought immediate response from adult members. The stallion coordinated the reunion using a series of precise vocalizations that demonstrated remarkable command over the herd's movements. Professor Chen's expertise in cultural preservation provided valuable context for their observations. The sophisticated communication patterns showed similarities to behaviors depicted in ancient petroglyphs, suggesting that complex vocal exchanges had been part of wild horse society for thousands of years. The stallion's leadership maintained these traditional communication methods while adapting them to current needs. Dr. Montgomery's analysis revealed fascinating patterns in the herd's vocal development. Young horses learned specific calls through structured interactions with older members, suggesting a formal process of language acquisition. The stallion played a crucial role in this education, demonstrating correct usage and correcting errors in the young one's attempts. Sarah's sophisticated recording equipment captured subtle variations in the horse's vocalizations that suggested emotional content beyond simple signaling. Different tones conveyed comfort, warning, encouragement, or discipline, creating a rich, emotional vocabulary that strengthened social bonds within the herd. The transformation of Thunder Canyon's acoustic environment under the herd's influence fascinated researchers. The horses had created specific calling posts throughout their territory, using natural features to amplify and direct their vocalizations. The stallion's understanding of acoustic properties demonstrated remarkable environmental awareness. Scout's presence near the recording equipment provided unexpected insights. The Border Collie's reactions to different horse vocalizations helped researchers identify specific call patterns. His ability to distinguish between various types of horse communication suggested the sounds carried clear, consistent meanings. Emily's ongoing research into the herd's social structure gained new dimension with the vocal analysis. The horses used different communication patterns depending on their social role and relationship to other herd members. The stallion's vocalizations carried distinctive characteristics that reflected its leadership position while maintaining connection with individual family members. The success of Thunder Canyon's Wild Horse Sanctuary attracted increased attention from communication researchers worldwide. The herd's sophisticated vocal exchanges challenged conventional understanding of animal language capabilities. The stallion's role in maintaining and developing these communication patterns suggested cognitive abilities far beyond previous estimates. Dr. Rodriguez's expertise in animal cognition helped identify learning patterns in the herd's vocal development. Young horses progressed through distinct stages of communication ability, similar to language acquisition in other intelligent species. The stallion's teaching methods demonstrated understanding of these developmental stages. Jack Cooper's documentation captured the subtle ways vocal communication enhanced the herd's daily activities. Different calls, coordinated grazing patterns, maintained group cohesion, and warned of potential threats. The young ranch hand's careful observations revealed a complex system of acoustic signals that supported every aspect of herd life. The morning sun illuminated another fascinating aspect of the herd's behavior. The horses used different vocalizations in different parts of their territory, adjusting their communication to take advantage of local acoustic conditions. The stallion's leadership had created a sophisticated system of location-specific signals that maximized communication efficiency. Dr. Hayes's study of the thermal cave system gained new significance with the acoustic research. The cave's natural resonance enhanced certain frequencies used by the horses, creating perfect conditions for specific types of communication. The stallion's use of different cave areas for different vocal exchanges showed remarkable understanding of acoustic principles. The success of Thunder Canyon's unique partnership between wild horses and human observers gained new dimension through the communication study. The herd's willingness to maintain natural vocal patterns despite human presence demonstrated remarkable adaptability. The stallion's leadership preserved authentic wild horse communication while allowing scientific documentation. The presence of National Geographic's team proved invaluable in capturing the full range of the herd's vocal interactions. Advanced audio and video equipment recorded subtle details of communication patterns that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. The stallion's role in coordinating these complex exchanges demonstrated remarkable social intelligence. Professor Chen's analysis of ancient horse behavior gained new relevance through the acoustic research. The sophisticated communication patterns showed remarkable consistency with historical evidence, suggesting that complex vocal exchanges had been crucial to horse survival for thousands of years. The stallion's leadership maintained these traditional communication methods while adapting them to modern challenges. The transformation of Thunder Canyon under the herd's influence had created something unprecedented in modern research. A wild horse community that preserved ancient communication patterns while developing new acoustic adaptations to current conditions. The stallion's leadership had established a legacy of sophisticated vocal interaction that would continue through countless future generations. The rising sun cast long shadows across Thunder Canyon as Tom Anderson made his final preparations. At the observation post, After months of extraordinary discoveries, the time had come for the most challenging phase of their work, ensuring the long-term protection of this remarkable wild horse sanctuary. The dapple grey stallion stood atop a distant ridge, its magnificent silhouette a reminder of everything they had learned about the incredible capabilities of these wild creatures. A gentle autumn breeze carried the scent of sage and pine through the canyon as Emily presented their comprehensive research findings to a panel of wildlife conservation experts. The evidence they had gathered over the months painted an extraordinary picture of wild horse intelligence and social complexity. The stallion's leadership had created something unprecedented, a self-sustaining wild horse society that could adapt to changing conditions while maintaining its essential freedom. The morning light revealed fresh tracks near the thermal caves, signs of the herd's continued evolution. Young horses born in the sanctuary displayed remarkable abilities, combining inherited wisdom with innovations of their own. The stallion's legacy lived on through these new generations, each adding their own chapter to the extraordinary story of Thunder Canyon's wild horses. Dr. Hayes approached with the final analysis of the cave system's expansion. The horses' careful use of their environment had actually improved the natural features that made their sanctuary possible. The stallion's intuitive understanding of geological principles had created sustainable patterns of cave usage that could support wild horse populations for generations to come. Scout's alert posture drew attention to movement near the eastern ridge. A new group of wild horses approached the canyon, drawn by the success of the sanctuary. The dapple grey stallion's response demonstrated the full sophistication of its leadership style. Rather than rejecting these newcomers, it initiated the careful integration process that had helped its herd grow stronger through diversity. Jack Cooper's morning observations revealed fascinating developments in the herd's social structure. The young ranch hand had documented how different family groups maintained their distinct identities while contributing to the larger community. The stallion's leadership style had created a perfect balance between individual freedom and group cooperation. Professor Chen's final report on the archaeological evidence provided crucial historical context. The petroglyphs and other artifacts suggested that Thunder Canyon had served as a horse sanctuary for thousands of years. The stallion's wisdom in choosing this location and establishing sustainable usage patterns connected directly to ancient equine traditions. Dr. Montgomery's acoustic research had revealed unprecedented complexity in wild horse communication. The sophisticated vocalizations used by the herd demonstrated linguistic capabilities far beyond previous estimates. The stallion's role in maintaining and developing these communication patterns ensured the preservation of crucial knowledge. Across generations, the morning sun strengthened, illuminating the full scope of their discoveries. The genetic research had revealed markers for enhanced intelligence and social cooperation in the stallion's bloodline. These traits, combined with learned behaviors and cultural traditions, created a unique population of wild horses capable of adapting to future challenges while maintaining their essential nature. Emily's documentation of the herd's social evolution gained recognition from wildlife experts worldwide. The sophisticated organizational system challenged conventional understanding of wild horse capabilities. The stallion's leadership had demonstrated that wild horses could develop complex societies when given proper space and protection. Bob Mitchell's weather monitoring station provided crucial data about the herd's environmental adaptation. The horse's ability to anticipate and respond to changing conditions showed remarkable sophistication. The stallion's weather prediction abilities helped maintain the herd's safety through all seasons. Sarah's final photographic collection captured the essence of Thunder Canyon's transformation. The images revealed a thriving ecosystem where wild horses and nature existed in perfect balance. The stallions' leadership had created a model for wildlife conservation that preserved both freedom and sustainable cooperation with human observers. Dr. Rodriguez's analysis of the herd's cognitive abilities revealed fascinating patterns of knowledge transmission. Young horses learned through structured interactions that combined instinct with careful instruction. The stallions' teaching methods ensured that crucial survival knowledge passed successfully to each new generation. The success of Thunder Canyon's unique partnership between wild horses and human observers attracted international attention. The careful balance between research and preservation demonstrated that scientific understanding could advance without compromising natural behaviors. The stallions' acceptance of human presence while maintaining the herd's independence created new possibilities for wildlife study. Jack Cooper's expertise in reading horse behavior helped establish guidelines for future sanctuary management. The young ranch hand's natural ability to interpret equine communication created bridges between wild and domestic worlds. His documentation ensured that future generations would understand how to maintain respectful relationships with wild horse populations. The transformation of Thunder Canyon under the herd's influence had created something truly remarkable. A wild horse paradise where ancient wisdom combined with modern adaptation. The stallion's leadership preserved crucial knowledge while allowing natural evolution of horse society. Its legacy would continue through the countless generations that would call this sanctuary home. Dr. Hayes's final assessment of the cave system revealed the full sophistication of the horse's environmental adaptation. They had created sustainable patterns of usage that actually enhance the natural features of their habitat. The stallion's intuitive understanding of geological principles ensured the long-term viability of their sanctuary. The morning light reached every corner of the canyon, revealing the full scope of their achievement. The wild horses moved with confident grace through their territory, each family group contributing to the larger community while maintaining its unique identity. The stallion's leadership had created perfect balance between individual freedom and group cooperation. Emily's research papers on the herd's social structure would revolutionize understanding of wild horse capabilities. The sophisticated organizational system demonstrated that these animals possessed far greater intelligence and adaptability than previously recognized. The stallion's leadership style provided a model for future wildlife conservation efforts. The success of Thunder Canyon's Wild Horse Sanctuary proved that conservation could preserve both natural behaviors and scientific understanding. The careful balance between observation and independence demonstrated new possibilities for wildlife research. The stallion's wisdom in accepting human presence while maintaining the herd's essential wildness created sustainable partnerships between species. As the sun climbed higher, Tom reflected on their extraordinary journey. The wounded Mustang that had first sought human help had initiated a chain of discoveries that transformed understanding of wild horse capabilities. The stallion's leadership had created something unprecedented, a thriving wild horse society that combined ancient wisdom with modern adaptation. The legacy of Thunder Canyon would continue through generations of wild horses yet to come. The stallion's wisdom in establishing sustainable patterns of behavior ensured that crucial knowledge would pass forward through time. Its leadership had created more than just a sanctuary. It had established a living library of horse wisdom and capability. The morning breeze carried the sound of distant hoofbeats as new horses approached the canyon. The stallion's careful integration of newcomers demonstrated the continuing evolution of its remarkable society. The future of Thunder Canyon's wild horses seemed secure, protected by both natural barriers and human understanding. As their final day of observation drew to a close, the full significance of their discoveries became clear. The The stallion's leadership had revealed the extraordinary potential that existed in wild horse populations. Its legacy would influence wildlife conservation for generations to come, demonstrating that freedom and cooperation could coexist in perfect balance. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these. Just click and check them out.